Milan, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, it's been a smooth transitioning for me through my life. When I look back into time, um, I've always inclined to like meat or um, meat products and other other products like that. Milk. I drink milk until today. For example, almost a liter of milk, raw milk. I must admit. What we buy in the shops, I don't recognize as milk. I think it's a white poison. Anyway, so I used to, as a 16-year-old, I started to ski intensively in a local club, and, which actually wasn't that local. We had to travel about 180 kilometers to the mountains. So it was like 3 or 4 hour trip each Friday after afternoon, and we got there at night, and we came back on Sunday, and I was responsible for my own cooking. You have to bring your food there, and so I always brought eggs and other like some smoked meats like salamis and stuff, which wasn't all that good. But looking back 45 years ago, it wasn't all that bad. It was not like today, uh, and I just slowly learned how to cook, and then going forward to more recent times when I was like around 32 or 33. I lived in Australia by then already, and I was skiing and went to a competition on cross country skis, which was not my area of main activities. I was a downhill skier, but before the cross country race, it was about 40 k's from Persia Valley. Actually, it was from Thredbo, from top of Thredbo, going across along Kosciuszko, Mount Kosciuszko, all the way to Charlotte's Pass. And the start was delayed for some reason. And sitting in a restaurant on the top of the Eagle's Nest, and I felt rather hungry and uncomfortable. So I thought, well, and by then I should mention I already had behind. I already studied. I went to Sydney University and I studied sports science there. Nutrition was one of the main subjects, of course, and so I was all equipped with all the knowledge, from the mid to late 80s, such as that we have to before the activities, sporting activities, you have to do carbohydrate loading and so on, avoiding fats and excessive fats and butter. I remember was not a go. We were advised to eat margarine, which I think I've tried it, but again, my natural intuition somehow saved me, so I didn't stick to that regime for very long. But anyway, back to the sitting on top of the Eagle's Nest, before the cross country race. I just could not resist. I had to just buy myself Kransky, like a sausage Kransky. Really, really fatty, with a little bit of bread and mustard, and that sausage was like full of fat, and I ate it with a lot of pleasure, knowing also that I'm doing virtually everything against what I have just studied on a university level, and what was uh, wildly known at the time and still is, unfortunately, today to most people as what you should not do, especially before competition. And then I went to the start, and went along. And what surprised me, I already there was like a regular race each year. It was a Persia Cup, which constituted of a couple of races, and this was like a preparation for the cross country race from the Persia Cup. And I just felt great. Started up and going along, not expecting much because I was not training for cross country skiing at all. And by the time I was passing like Mount Kosciuszko, I had my pace. I was using oxygen, Krebs cycle, and all of that. Was working well, and I was starting to surpass the people along the way. And so by the time I was hitting the flat stretch going to Charlotte's Pass, I was powering, and I clocked it in a for me a record time, and I wasn't that far off from the best guys, which like I used to compete also in Persia Cup with the brothers, Hislop's brother, Rodney and David, and they were Olympians and Ironman and whatnot, really fit guys, and I wasn't that far behind them. So everyone congratulated me, and that sort of experience stuck in my mind as something which I did against all advice, and it was for some reason just working that day. Anyway, so now I'm living back in Europe and living a reasonably ordinary life, and I don't do much sports anymore. Occasionally, I play tennis, and I keep not reasonably healthy and fit. I never really had, I must say ahead, I never really had any chronic health issues. I'm a reasonably healthy guy who has chosen sport as the main passion in life, and I studied, as I mentioned, sports science, and I competed in alpine skiing on a professional level in America, Canada, and Japan, and also a couple of races in Europe back in the 80s and early 90s. Went to two uh, world championships in professional skiing, and lived in Japan for like 4 or 5 seasons. And I was actually one of the pioneers to organize ski trips to Japan from Australia. Again, like I think it was 1986 was my first trip. I teamed up with a partner, a son of the then president of the Australian Travel Agents Association, Aussie Pitts, and his son Mark Pitts. We ventured there, and then we went to Philippines and did something there as well. So it was looking back on my life, it's been very fulfilling and enjoyable and adventurous, and never had any real health issues. And coming back to present, I'm 64 years old, uh, and I should be like sort of slowing down and looking back. But since about 4 or 5 years, I went on to, like, I would say 80% of carnivore diet. I still cheat. I still have my lifelong sugar addiction, so I eat occasionally cakes and stuff. But when I do, I pause. I fast after I eat some sugar, and I get really hungry. So I make sure I burn it all up, and then in the afternoon, or sometimes not until the evening, I eat a dinner which consists basically just beef, and if I don't have beef, it would be anything else uh, in subsequent order. Like lamb. I love lamb, and uh, basically switched off from all carbohydrates. I call it fillings, such as pasta and rice, and all this unnecessary stuff. Which, when I do say that to people, including my own family, like yesterday, I visited my now ex-wife, which we disagree on many issues, and this is one of them. So she's got my our two sons living with her. One is not quite 18 yet. The other one is 20, and also have I should mention I have a daughter who she lives in Prague, which is not far from where I live, but we don't really see each other, unfortunately, also because of the differences which we have as a family. So it's me against the rest. It's like I've been the outcast, for many reasons, and diet is one of them. So anyway, so that's my it's my current state of affairs, and I feel great. I feel like I never felt before. I hardly exercise, like I mentioned. I only go maybe to tennis now once a week with my son. Have a little bit of game to keep him in shape. Even he's now studying at Charles University as in sports science. He's sort of following my footsteps in a little bit in this way.
Right.
And
So you just gotta make him understand that carb loading might not be the best idea.
yeah, well, it's a very difficult task, as you would know, to convince or sway people to abandon the traditional views and knowledge and to take them on a new path. It's not easy, Dave, is it?
No, not at all. So, at 64, you've been eating this way for a long time. At 64, I mean, how do you feel pretty good, like, when you kind of you see your friends, are they kind of maybe not feeling as good as you? Are they, do you hear your friends complaining a lot about their health?
Well, it's even more tragic than that. I think from all my friends, which I've gathered all through my life, all around the world, uh, uh, people in Japan and U.S. and Canada, Sweden, Norway, France and Italy, and I have some here where I live in Czech Republic. Uh, a lot of them are not alive anymore. They, I'd say that that percentage would be probably minimum 20% of my peers would be no longer able to listen to what I have to say here and converse with you, Dave. And the rest, it's a uh, pitiful look at them. Like I have to feel with them because most of them, they riddled with uh, illnesses which they have to rely on medication. Going to the doctors, and so it's a standard view. Whereas I don't go to the doctors. I spy doctors. I haven't been there for at least 20 years, and I don't, of course, do any medication. I have learned a great deal about medicine myself, which I try to apply in order to assist me to be healthy and fit, and yeah, like, and I feel great. I don't have any. I probably have a roughly. I haven't measured it. I should be able to. I still remember how to do that, but I probably would have around 8% body fat, 8-10% body fat, maybe at the most, and I'm able to still do basic gymnastic stuff. And I can still run, and I cycle all the time. I just bought a car. I haven't had a car for a year because I went traveling. I've been away for many months. Went to Cambodia and Thailand and Australia, and actually I should mention that whilst traveling, carnivore diet is just incredibly convenient. It's so easy. You always find some meat somewhere, either in a restaurant or just buy yourself a raw one and just cook it somewhere. In Australia, it's you have these barbecues. We just push the button and they go on. So
Yeah, I for me, I feel like when you're traveling, the best thing about carnivore is you know that if you can't find something to eat for like 6 hours, 8 hours, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're gonna feel okay, right?
yeah, I just take it as a added benefit of fasting. Like, well, intermittent fasting it is. I don't really go into like not eating for several days. I've tried it, but I just simplify it. I eat once, maximum twice a day. I enjoy the hunger. I used to be when I was younger and I was hungry, you know. Uh, and looking back, I think it was primarily because of the content I was eating that I had these issues with losing energy, and I was really aggravated, when I felt hungry, and I could kill for food, when I was hungry. Whereas now, when I started to feel hunger, I welcome it. I just enjoy it. It's such a great feeling to be hungry.
Yeah, it's when your blood sugar is level, it's a very different experience, right?
Amazing, amazing. It's I'm still learning. I still experiment. I experiment with many things in my life. And have you heard of um, it's not the magic mushrooms. It's a fairy mushrooms. It's one of those red mushrooms with white dots. Have you heard of that?
Uh,
It's a
no,
muscaria.
I've only seen those in, cartoons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, actually, whilst in Australia, I should mention I lived there with my family from 2009 to 2014, and we ventured up. Usually, before I lived in places like Sydney and Canberra and Jindabyne, in the snowy air mountains. Uh, but I always wanted to live somewhere where it's warm because I've had enough of snow. I've skied all my life. Some years I've skied like 10 months a year. You do the southern hemisphere, you ski in Australia or New Zealand for 4 months from June to September. And then I maybe had a 1 month off, and I was off to the glacier in Austria. By September, starting to train. By December, I moved to Japan or America, and then skied on right through to end of March, sometimes early April, sometimes even longer. So I craved for the climate, for the hot climate, for the ocean, for coming to Australia at 20 years of age. I had plenty of opportunities to get myself accustomed to this kind of lifestyle, living on the beach and surfing and windsurfing and whatnot. So I always loved that. And so I made the decision. By then, my wife cooperated with me and she was reasonable. So she enjoyed, coming to Australia in 2009. And we found ourselves a place in a small fishing village up the coast, the east coast. I think you're from Perth, by the way. I have a great
Melbourne, Melbourne.
so okay. So and I don't know if you heard near Ballina, uh, between Gosford and Ballina, along the
Uh-huh.
coast, there are some small places. And Evans Head is a small fishing village, uh, mainly retirees and a couple of business owners. It's quite a small establishment in the middle of the national parks there.
Oh,
And
nice.
so that was a great time where I was fishing pretty much every second day and providing fish for dinner, for the family. And when it was good water, clear water, and you could spearfish, I enjoyed going spearfishing, diving in the water. And when it was a good time to catch other fish, we did that. So it was always some fish, fresh fish on the
Mm.
table at the time.
Oh, very nice.
Great way for Carnivore if you can afford it and if you have the lifestyle.
Mm.
So that was a 4 or 5 years living in Australia on the beach. Now being in the middle of Europe, the sea and ocean is far away. I miss it greatly. I miss the salt water. But I also learned one of the great tips for health for most people is to drink clean water mixed with a little bit of sea salt, but unrefined. It's going to be unrefined, like a Celtic sea salt. Or if you live near the ocean by the sea, you can even collect your own seawater somewhere clean and dilute it about 3 to 1, 3 times of water, and because it's quite salty, and drink that every morning before you do anything. Before you eat or drink anything, just drink a couple of glasses of seawater, basically, which nourishes you with all the minerals and trace elements of whatever kind you need. It's, in fact, seawater has got the same, very similar, if not the same, uh, constitution as our blood plasma. I have learned a great deal from a doctor who lives in Peru with an Indian lady, and he's been there for at least 10 years now. Darko Belcek, he's got a great educational channel called Kefa 55, KEFA 55. I should recommend that thoroughly. So I'm always for lookout for alternative information. Before then, I followed Dr. Mark Circus from originally from States, but living for a long time in Brazil. And from him, I've learned about the importance of magnesium, substituting magnesium into your daily life, not through eating or drinking, but in a form of transdermal application, like taking bath in it, uh, which I just did before I got onto your show. And sometimes you can use other substances to mix with it, like soda bicarbonate, which is a great thing. Yes, so life is
So,
exciting.
so what you're doing, the way you're eating, the way you're living, your family is not really on board with this. And also, if you talked to someone in the medical profession, they would probably think you're crazy. At what point was it that you realized this is the right way for me? This is the way I should be eating. This is the way I should be living. Was it just the feeling you felt good, or was there some point you realized, okay, this is the best thing for me?
Well, actually, we are most of us are social creatures, which are influenced by, and most of the knowledge and informations which we have is actually taken over from somebody else. So I think the for me the definite conviction of the fact that I'm going along the right way is when people like yourself are starting to spread your knowledge through the internet, getting on alternative sites, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, whatever. And so prior to discovering you, I've got onto a few other channels and a few other people and listened very carefully, and that all just harmonized with my own knowledge and my own experience, my own feeling to such a degree that the level of my own mind and conviction about many things, and carnivore is one of them, is so strong that I just could not go back anymore. It's I'm planning to go to South America to live in Ecuador, as a matter of fact, and I've been there 2 years ago to have a look. Again, I had a friend who lives there for the past 20 years. He's also from Europe originally, and he's got an Indian wife, and so we went to travel for a month and went to this also fishing village. You look for the similar places like Evans Head in Australia, Ecuador, Cohimias, and while there, you can buy fresh fish uh, from the fishermen, which is just unbelievably fresh and right straight from the boat for between $1. We're talking about US dollars, and $3.50 for the best fish. Like in Australia, you would be paying these days like 40 dollars for a kilo of such a high quality fish. And in Ecuador, $3.50. Or you can get yourself a boat, which I'm planning to, learn the basics from the fishermen and get out on the sea and catch your own. Or prawns. There's a lot of prawn farming, shrimp farming, and you can also buy a fresh prawns for like $3 to $4 for a kilo. And
So the plan is to live in Ecuador permanently?
I think well, I'm gonna give it a try. I, 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 I think it's a new challenge, in life. We have to strive for new challenges and make life interesting. So now that the family is almost, uh, the kids are almost all adults. The youngest is going to be turning 18 in next April, and so what else do you do, with life? So learning Spanish, living by the ocean, and meeting new people and learning new ways. It's sounds pretty exciting for me.
I really I feel this is a bit of a carnivore thing, because when you live a lifestyle like this, when you're eating this way, you have a lot more energy and you have a lot more feeling like there's this huge future in front of me that's open for however I want to live it, right? And so, most people when they're 64, they're thinking about retirement and slowing down and all that kind of thing, right? And I really like the fact that, I like to hear that you're 64 and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm going to try and live in Ecuador for a while and I'll see how that goes. It's just like it's very different to the kind of the way normal eating directs you, you know?
Yeah, eating diet for sure. I think I agree with you, Dave. It's the more I am plunging myself into this avenue, the more I'm realizing that your words are uh, pretty much spot on. But it's not only that; it's the whole mental issue, the outlook on life, and what we have been conditioned to, how we programmed. And I think throughout my life, I've been a bit of a rebel. It started off before me with my dad, with my granddad, with my granddad. Trying to find out about the history, the true history. We've been lied to just about everything, including history. So we have to research about everything, and so that puts me in a position of this state of mind, uh, which I consider really open and adventurous and unafraid of whatever comes your way, whether it's the sort of so-called old age coming or whatever else. Yeah, I don't take any of this stuff on board.
Yeah, it's awesome. It just feels like, it's just, I'm beginning a new part of life, there's no limits to it, right?
Yeah, I have watched a little bit of your story yesterday, last night, Dave, and I admire you, people like that. You've had the tough go. Going through a crippling illness at such a young age. You were 17 when you had the stroke? You
Yeah,
said
17.
okay. So that I can't even imagine. I've been blessed and lucky with having good health for most of my life, and so for somebody like you and for all the people who've experienced similar path to yours, you know, my head down, and the fact that you have found a way how to prosper and be happy and living in a new land yourself. Well, but you've only been carnivore for 2.5 years, from what I gather, or something like that. And
Yeah.
you've moved to Japan prior to have becoming carnivore, obviously. So
Yeah, it's been nearly 19 years now.
wow, wow. So also like the mental uh, setup in people like yourself. In order to get into carnivore, you already have to have something, some whatever you want to call it, in your own perception, which guides you there. To That's a sort of my outlook. So I'd put first of all is the state of mind to get rid yourself of stereotypes, learned, programmed uh, stuff which just keeps you low vibrations, keeps you low, keeps you in an unknown. So first you gotta explore your mind, feel fresh, keep fit, and that's when the carnivore steps in and makes it all even better. That's our view.
Yeah, that's a good point. And when I think of the type of person that gravitates towards carnivore, and as you're talking about that, it makes me think the type of person that's more likely to go towards carnivore or just go towards keto or something like that is, I think, the type of person that's likely to be more open to things, more open to different experiences, and more likely to question things, and more likely to say, that doesn't sound quite right to me. And I think that's how we eventually get here, because we're people like myself, we try to eat a particular way all our lives because that's what we're told. And eventually we kind of start to feel, hang on, I'm getting the same advice all the time and nothing is getting better. In fact, it's getting worse. I wonder if there's a different way of doing things, and it's just
There always
unfortunate that everyone doesn't come to that same conclusion.
yeah. Well, it's a s- it's a philosophical pathway, philosophical questions, which why people are the way they are, why the society is being shaped the way it is. Yeah, and the more I'm researching into it, the more I'm convinced that we've been here uh, kind of controlled. But for most people with clouded mind, with riddled with programs from the birth till death, and it's multi-generational. We have multi-generational programming stopping us to see clearly what's ahead of us, even to be able to see with our own eyes and to be able to consider with our own clear mind. Once you do that, the world changes for you. You don't no longer see the world round. You no longer uh, uh, have the need or urge to eat vegetables or any of the pasta, rice, whatever comes with it.
So, Milan, if one of your friends said to you, "Look, I want to get started with carnivore, tell me what to do," what advice would you give them?
Well, I would I would give them advice to get hold of a good supply of a high quality, preferably grass fed beef meat or wild game or fish, and try it. It's like I did with my friend in Ecuador. We went to Cojimies, to this fishing village, and I said, "Okay, Zienek, we're not going to cook any of this, stuff like you used to. From now on, we just eat meat." And because it was for a reasonably short time, he agreed with that. He was twitching and feeling uncomfortable, trying to get out of this deal. But for 2 weeks, and it's a very pleasurable. It's actually very enjoyable, very tasty. So we ate that. And when I was leaving back to Europe and I was leaving him behind, I gave him also some suggestions, like you suggesting to me what I would advise other friends. So I gave him a whole sort of a program how to do that and what to do and how to buy and stuff. So I hope he still sticks to it because he needs to keep his health up. He's also he's about 4 or 5 years younger than me, but he's actually in effect uh, not even half as healthy and active as I am. And he complains about losing memory. And I said, this is you have to do something about your life if you want to be. He's also got a reasonably young daughter, so you have to make sure you're still here. People need you, so you have to look after yourself. So get yourself a good quality source of nutrients and just start to eat it and enjoy it.
It's yeah, it really is that simple. That's probably the most awesome thing about it, right? It's just easy. There's no plans,
It-
there's nothing, right?
yeah, actually. Back to Thailand. When I was on an island called Koh Chang in Thailand near Cambodia. First I arrived in Cambodia. It's too hot. It's like 37 degrees Celsius every day. Could not get a good sleep. So after a couple of weeks, I took a bus to Ko Chang, thinking that I'm only going to be there for like 3 days or so, meeting a friend of mine, an accountant, which I had to, I was sort of trying to get some information from him, going to Australia, organizing some financial stuff and stuff. And so when I got there, I met him, spoke. Then I looked for accommodation, and then I found a really nice little place by a Japanese lady at the end of the island. Rented a bike, which I also enjoy. I didn't have much opportunities to ride bikes in my life, so I rented a bike, and not 3 days, but I stayed until my visa ran out. Basically, I was buying myself a ticket to Australia 2 days before my visa was expiring, and there just enjoy all this beautiful, warm, hot weather, ocean, swimming, living in a hut overlooking a beautiful bay. And then I discovered this little restaurant on a street restaurant, 10 kilometers away from where I was living. So I had to ride, it's like up and down and curvy, and all I had to make sure that I don't crash, don't injure yourself. But that went well. And so every afternoon, every evening, about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I turned up and I ordered a big, fatty, grilled mackerel, you know, and that's all I ate pretty much all day. Then a little bit of fruits like mangoes and bananas as well. It's my sugar addiction, but I'm onto it. I will give it a go, another experiment. I'll cut all the fructose and all the sugars out. And now that I'm waiting for a new supply, that's my secret. I have a friend living in the local mountains, and he's a farmer. He's got about 80 head of cattle, uh, especially raising for meat, exporting them, to wherever that goes. I'm not sure. It's a French breed, and so I'm about to fill my freezer with another 250 kilos of top stuff beef, which I'm buying for something like what is it? Yeah, about $8 a kilo. So it's a good, of course, price is an issue. But and many people say to me, I can't afford it. I can't afford carnivore diet. Meat is so expensive. And I say, by the time you calculate how much you spend when you buy for the usual stuff, and when you cut all that out, which I have, I hardly ever go to normal shops anymore. Maybe I go once in 2 months, and I spend like less than $10 on stuff which I normally cannot get somewhere, like petty stuff. But my core diet is all supplied from this friend of mine with a beef farm, with a cattle farm, and I go to the local uh, farm to fetch raw fresh milk from the cows. I usually go there in the afternoon when they are milking the cows. So when I'm filling the container, when I'm transporting the milk, I buy each week I buy about 12 liters, which half of that I give to my sons, which drink it. So that my two sons actually, I have a hope there. you know, I have a hope that they don't get sucked in by all the propaganda which has been actually spreading even through the mother side of the family. Anyway, it's unfortunate, but it's how it is. So milk, dairy farm. I get some fresh farm eggs when I can. They're a bit scarce. They got a lot more expensive lately. Another friend of mine keeps goats. So when he kills off his goats, I'm there. Hey, Roman, keep some for me. So I'm onto like scavenging for whatever I can get, which is high quality and no processed stuff and a good price.
Nice. So Milan, if people want to reach out to you, do you have a way of getting in contact? Do you have any social media?
Uh, I have a channel on YouTube, which I don't really use regularly. I used to keep all my ski stuff there. When I was skiing with my own kids. I used to coach. I have coached in Czech Republic, even the national team. For a certain period of time, and I helped a couple of guys who made it to the very top in the world in alpine skiing and in ski cross mainly. Like two best guys, uh, which I have coached personally. Stanley Heyer from Canada uh, and Thomas Kraus, who was like a 6 or 7 time world champion in ski cross, overall winner. So I still have some stuff there. That's one way of getting in touch with me. It's Milan Stevens channel on YouTube. Other than then, I have just the email. My email is at Gmail, stevensmilan at gmail.com. Other than that, I'm
No,
not really active on anything.
yeah, no worries. I'll link to your email and YouTube below. Milan, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time very much so, and I'm grateful for having the opportunity to speak on your podcast and helping out to for other people to discover this amazing way of living a healthy lifestyle